Today, we're in the historic Quad Cities, which is home to a ton of neat stuff, like Arsenal Island, also known as Rock Island. This place was home to the Rock Island Arsenal Museum, which is one of the first and largest U.S. Army museums in the country. It's also home to several military munitions factories. You've also got the impressive John Deere World Headquarters in Moline, which encompasses the size of a small town, and a nationally ranked baseball stadium on the banks of the Mississippi in Davenport. There's also the Silvis Locomotive Shops in Silvis, which served as a vital hub for the Rock Island Railroad. The first place we're visiting today is CPKC's Nahant Yard and Roundhouse in Davenport, Iowa. Last time we were here, it was still Canadian Pacific. Apart from a few logo changes around the yard and a couple KCS motors by the fuel tanks, nothing's really changed. Little EMDs ain't the only locomotives that are here though, cause two massive road engines have just pulled into the yard, one of them being a very rare Maroon and Grey SD70ACU. These big old road engines are getting ready to do some switching. I suspect these two came in on a low priority manifest, and switching Nahant is either part of their job duties or this is their final stop, and they're breaking down their train. I always find it a bit strange when I see big road engines doing yard work, but I imagine they're well suited for it. With 12 wheels on each locomotive, there's more than enough tractive effort, and the combined weight and horsepower of these engines makes switching any size cut of cars a breeze. I do have a question for my viewers who are engineers though. Can you have too much tractive effort or too much horsepower when switching? And if so, what problems does it cause? I imagine draft gears, railcar frames, and tracks would all be at risk of becoming damaged. While we're up close with this massive SD90 rebuild, how about we take a look at its unique paint job? Only 9 of these Maroon and Grey SD70ACUs exist. They are heritage units, but not in the traditional sense. During the 2010s, railroads started churning out heritage locomotives based off defunct railroads, but Canadian Pacific was left high and dry because they have no predecessors. They were an original Class 1, created by private companies and the Canadian government way back in 1881. When Canadian Pacific's PR team decided it was time to do something to honor their heritage, they chose to resurrect one of the railroad's oldest and most fashionable paint jobs, but only on 10 locomotives. What's even cooler is that there's variation to this livery. 3 of the specialty SD70ACUs look just like 7013, but the other 5 have a smaller color stripe on the long hood, with yellow numbering on the cab, and the words Canadian Pacific are written in block lettering, not script font. If I'm not mistaken, CP's Maroon and Grey was originally developed for their streamlined passenger locomotives in the 40s, but these colors later saw use on freight haulers system-wide. By the 1970s, this iconic paint job had all but faded from Canada's rails in favor of action red. Maroon and Grey has been resurrected a couple times over the years. once on a few Jeeps in the 1980s, and once again on the streamlined F9s that pull the company's business train. But right now is the most widespread this paint job's been in roughly 50 years. After going back and forth for about 45 minutes, 7013 and 9719 eventually came to a stop in the yard. Maybe they're done switching, or maybe they're waiting on a through freight to pass before getting back to work. Regardless, we can't hang around any longer, because we got to get back to Illinois to catch some action on Iowa Interstate. The first train we see is a mixed freight, being pulled in part by number 500, the class leader for Iowa Interstate's GEVOs. A class leader is a term given to a locomotive that oftentimes has the lowest road number and is the first of its kind to be produced for said railroad. For instance, GEVOs are numbered in the 500 series on Iowa Interstate, and 500 is the class leader. On the Santa Fe, C40-8Ws were numbered in the 800 through 900 series, and 800 was the class leader. The definition of a class leader holds up just fine when railroads have consistent numbering systems, but it gets a bit interpretive when railroads don't keep their numbering system straight. Take CPKC GEVOs, for example. Is CP 8700 the class leader, or is it KCS 4680? Both locomotives were class leaders on their respective railroads, but which one's which now that the two companies have combined? In this instance, it would depend on whether you go off the earliest production date or the lowest road number. What's really great about this stretch of track is that the speed limit is only about 15 miles an hour, so you can chase trains through both Moline, Rock Island, and Silvis with ease. It ain't even 3 miles as the crow flies between here and the place we just saw this train not 10 minutes ago. I gotta hand it to Iowa Interstate. They consistently have incredibly rare and colorful boxcars on their trains. The ones with the unfamiliar, unique, and patched logos are called IPD, or Incentive Per Diem boxcars. They came about in the 1980s when there was a national boxcar shortage. Not only did they help boost the numbers of rectangular rolling stock on America's rails, but they also acted as PR stunts for short-line railroads. The unique and colorful paint jobs on these boxcars helped to draw attention and ultimately business to the frequently overlooked short lines at the time. Today, it's very rare to find even one of these boxcars on the main line, but Iowa Interstate just seems to be a hotspot for them. On the south side of the Silvis yard, we see a wonderfully preserved piece of Rock Island history. This caboose was built in the 1930s and looks just as good as the day it was made, both inside and out. I really should have taken photos of the inside, but I just didn't think to at the time. Regardless, everything in here is in pristine condition, and it's full of Rock Island memorabilia, from calendars to dish towels, and even shot glasses. Over on the east side of the yard, we see a very special engine getting ready to depart. This is Iowa Interstate's one and only true heritage unit, painted in beautiful Rock Island colors. This paint job was originally worn by classic streamlined EMDs in the mid-20th century. I would say 513 is an incredibly rare find, but Iowa Interstate only has 580 miles of track and 42 locomotives, so I reckon this engine's here at least once a week. Not 5 minutes after I arrived at the yard, 513 and its train got a move on. Their destination, Chicago. Iowa Interstate runs one eastbound and one westbound between Council Bluffs, Iowa and Blue Island, Illinois every day. Their symbols are CBBI and BICB. Hiding behind this eastbound was the other eastbound we just saw in Moline. And while it was stopped in the yard, I snagged a photo I've wanted to get for several weeks now. I think pictures like this qualify more as abstract industrial art rather than a rail fan and catch. But what do you think? Is this a form of art, or is it just a zoomed-in photo of a locomotive? Not only are these trains easy to chase in town, but they're also easy to chase outside of town. Here, we're just 13 miles east of Silvis, and by the sound of those classic mechanical bells, 513 and its train are fast approaching. One quirk on Iowa Interstate is that you won't find too many signals by the right-of-way. This is because of their predecessor, Rock Island. In its final years, the railroad was so tight on money that they were practically forced to neglect everything in order to survive, including their right-of-way, which saw almost no maintenance during the Rock's final years of operation. Because of this, all the signaling systems were junk by the time Iowa Interstate was created. And rather than spend money they didn't have on a signaling system that didn't work, the railroad opted to run their trains with track warrants, which is still how it's done today on most of the system. With the sun beginning to set and nothing else coming down the line, I decided to call it a day. Thanks for watching. If y'all enjoyed this video, consider checking out some other ones of mine. Also, maybe pass yourself by the merch shop. Anyways, till next time.